Ever get that feeling?
Yeah.
You know, completely lost in a game. Hours just
Oh, yeah,
vanish.
totally. I think we've all been there.
Well, today we're diving deep right into the psychology of gaming. What is it that makes these experiences so captivating? What's happening in our brains when we're glued to those screens?
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
We've got this awesome article from the University of Bolton. Breaks down how game designers really tap into our psychology, to create these experiences we just crave.
It's like they've figured out like the cheat codes to our brain's reward systems or something.
Right. This article dives deep into how those game mechanics actually trigger these feelings of satisfaction. And that's what keeps us coming back for more and more and more.
Absolutely.
So first things first, it starts with this idea of immersion, right? Creating these crazy detailed worlds and stories that just like pull you in.
Exactly. The article talks about escapism, and I think that's a huge part of it. Games give us that chance to step out of our daily lives and just immerse ourselves in something totally different, like a mental vacation. Be anyone, do anything.
And it's not just about the looks or the story, right? The article really emphasizes how important rewards are in gaming.
Hmm.
You know, leveling up, unlocking new stuff, getting that virtual currency.
The really cool part is how these rewards actually tap into our brain's dopamine system. They trigger those feelings of pleasure and accomplishment, and that's what keeps us motivated.
Ah, so that's what's going on.
Think about a game like World of Warcraft, right? You're constantly working towards some goal, whether it's finishing a raid or getting some new gear or even just leveling up.
Oh, yeah, I remember those days.
Every time you hit one of those milestones, your brain gives you this little burst of dopamine. It's like a little reward, and it makes you want to keep playing.
It's like those little dopamine hits are saying, keep going, you got this.
Exactly. And game designers, they know this stuff. They're masters at using these reward systems to create this like really compelling experience, a well-placed reward. That's powerful stuff.
But okay, it's not just about showering players with rewards, is it? The article also talks about the importance of challenge.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Games have to find that perfect balance, right? Difficult enough to keep us engaged, but not so hard that we just want to rage quit.
That's where the flow state comes in. That feeling where you're completely absorbed, you lose track of time, you're just like in the zone. Game designers, they're experts at creating those flow state experiences. They calibrate the difficulty just right, you
I
know?
see, I see.
They want players to feel challenged but not overwhelmed. It's like finding that sweet spot where players are always pushing themselves, and then they get that sense of accomplishment when they finally succeed.
Oh, so it's like that Goldilocks thing. Not too easy, not too hard, but just right.
Exactly. And when you hit that sweet spot, bam, you're in that magical realm of flow, completely engrossed.
And when we're in that flow state, we're not just more engaged, but we actually experience like more joy, more satisfaction.
Even a sense of purpose, yeah.
It's like tapping into this powerful intrinsic motivation.
Absolutely.
This is starting to make so much sense. These seemingly simple things, these game mechanics, rewards, challenge, immersion, they're actually tapping into these really deep psychological principles, the stuff that really drives us.
It's crazy how much thought and intention goes into making a successful game. It's not just about cool graphics and fun gameplay. You got to understand what makes us tick.
And speaking of connecting, on a deeper level,
Huh?
what about the social aspect?
Whoa, yeah.
The article points out how crucial social connections are, especially in these online multiplayer games. It's not just about individual achievements. It's about working together, forming communities, sharing these experiences.
And that taps into a basic human need, right? The need to belong. We're social creatures in games. They provide this platform to connect with people who get us, who share our interests. Raiding a dungeon with your guild in World of Warcraft, competing in League of Legends with your friends, that sense of camaraderie, those shared experiences, they just add this whole other layer to gaming. It's powerful stuff.
It's like games become these virtual spaces to build relationships, work towards goals together, and yeah, even just feel like you belong.
It can be so powerful, especially for people who, might struggle socially in real life. Games can offer this safe and supportive environment to connect and build real relationships.
This is changing the way I think about gaming, I gotta say. It's not just entertainment. It's about understanding ourselves.
Yeah.
How we interact with the world.
Totally. And we've only just scratched the surface here. There's a whole lot more to unpack about how games affect our emotions, our relationships, even our sense of self.
This is all fascinating. We're going to take a quick pause here, but when we come back, I want to dig deeper into those ideas. How can we use this knowledge, this psychology of gaming, to improve our lives, outside of the digital world? Stay tuned.
Back again. Still thinking about, how games connect us. It's wild.
Yeah.
Those late night raids could actually be fulfilling some deep social need. Who knew?
Right. Before the break, we were talking about using this psychology of gaming stuff to level up other parts of our lives.
Yeah.
Imagine using those same principles, the rewards, challenges, immersion, to, I don't know, be more productive at work, make learning more fun, even just make our daily routines a bit more exciting.
Now that's where it gets really interesting. Take rewards, for example. Games, they use them like a pro to keep you hooked. All those dopamine rushes we get from achieving goals.
Right. Yeah, that feeling when you beat that boss you've been stuck on forever. Pure gold.
Right.
But how do we get that same feeling, from finishing a work project or studying for an exam? Those things don't exactly come with flashing lights and victory music.
Maybe they should. But really, it's about finding ways to create those little wins along the way. Break those big tasks down, into smaller chunks, and then reward yourself for each one.
I see what you're saying.
Mini quests with rewards at the end.
So instead of looking at this massive to-do list, I break it up and then, I don't know, take a 15-minute break to listen to my favorite podcast after each one.
Exactly. You're gamifying your to-do list. Makes even the boring stuff more engaging. And those little rewards, they're positive reinforcement, making you more likely to actually finish everything.
All right, I'm sold. What about the social connection part? We were saying how much more fun games are with friends. How do we get that in our offline lives?
Think about why those multiplayer games are so fun. It's not just playing together, it's about those shared goals. You strategize, you celebrate together, you even support each other when things go wrong.
So instead of going it alone when things are tough, we can find ways to collaborate, like study groups where we quiz each other, or, I don't know, accountability partners where we help each other reach our goals.
Now you're getting it. That shared sense of purpose, having a support system can make a huge difference. And hey, a little friendly competition can be good too, as long as it doesn't get too intense.
Yeah, it's about that we're in this together feeling.
Exactly. And remember that challenge thing we talked about?
Oh yeah, how games need that perfect level of difficulty to keep us hooked.
Right. Too easy, you get bored. Too hard, you get frustrated. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you feel challenged enough to feel good when you succeed.
Right. But how do we apply that to real life? Should we be, actively looking for tougher tasks just for the challenge?
Not necessarily. It's more about understanding that certain amount of challenge is actually good for you. It helps you grow and stay engaged. Our brains, they like novelty. They like being stimulated.
So we should be looking for those opportunities to push ourselves.
Yeah. When we're learning new things, pushing ourselves outside our comfort zones, that's when we get into that flow state we were talking about.
So instead of avoiding things that seem hard, we should embrace them. Like choosing a harder difficulty setting in a game.
Exactly. It might be tougher, but it'll be way more rewarding in the end. And those I did it moments, that's what builds resilience. It boosts your confidence, makes you feel more capable in all areas of your life.
Okay, starting to see how we can use these gaming principles to make work, learning, even daily routines more fun. But what about that feeling of escape that games are so good at?
Good point.
Can we get that in real life without jumping into a virtual world?
Remember, escaping in games isn't about literally running away.
Yeah.
It's about finding healthy ways to de-stress, to get lost in something you enjoy, recharging those mental batteries.
So making time for hobbies, spending time in nature, doing something creative, something that gets us out of our heads and into that flow state.
Exactly. Find those activities that make you lose track of time or you're truly present in the moment.
Like creating those escape rooms in our own lives.
I like that.
Filled with things that bring us joy, that help us unwind.
Yeah, but just like with games, we gotta make sure our real-life escape rooms don't become a way to avoid dealing with real problems.
True. Can't just hide from reality all the time. So it's all about finding that balance, right? Using these escapist activities to recharge, not to shut down completely and ignore our responsibilities. This is all making so much sense. Rewards, social connection, challenge, even escapism. Is there anything else we can learn from game psychology to help us level up?
Actually, there's one more important thing. Feedback. Games are always giving you feedback. Points, level ups, visual cues, all that. It's a crucial feedback loop, to keep you motivated and on track.
It's like having your own personal cheerleader. But in real life, we don't always have those flashing lights and congrats messages. So how do we create that feedback loop in our offline lives?
It's about finding ways to track our progress. Celebrate those achievements, even the small ones.
Okay.
Keep a journal, to document your wins, set up a visual tracker for your goals, or even just share your successes with friends and family.
Like giving ourselves those achievement unlocked moments in our day.
Exactly. Those little moments of recognition, they can really make a difference. They boost your motivation. It's a way of saying, hey, I'm making progress, even when it feels slow.
Wow, this is amazing. We've covered so much. The psychology behind immersion and rewards, social connection, feedback, the whole 9 yards.
It's a lot.
It's crazy how much we can learn about ourselves,
Yeah.
just by looking at how games work.
It really is. It's about understanding how our minds work and using that knowledge to live a more fulfilling life.
I'm definitely going to try gamifying some of my own goals. But before we get too carried away, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Even the most fun games can be a problem if we're not careful, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've been focusing on the good stuff, but we can't ignore the potential downsides. Like anything that feels good, moderation and mindfulness are super important. Even the most enjoyable games can turn into an addiction if we're not paying attention.
We don't want our whole lives to become one giant game where we're just chasing points and achievements, at the expense of everything else. So when we come back, let's talk about those potential pitfalls, how to use these principles in a healthy way. We're back.
Okay.
Before the break, things were getting, kind of exciting. All these ways to level up our lives using, game psychology.
Yeah, it is pretty exciting stuff.
But there's always two sides to every coin.
Oh, for sure. Moderation, mindfulness, just like anything that feels good. We've talked about the positive side of things, but got to acknowledge the downsides too, right? Going overboard and all that.
Exactly. Even with games, right? They can become a problem if they start taking over our lives or relationships. Got to keep that balance in check.
What are some things to look out for? Red flags, warning signs.
One thing is getting so focused on the rewards that we forget why we were doing something in the first place. Those dopamine hits, they're great motivators, but they shouldn't be the only reason, right? Like, if we're only doing stuff for the points or the badges, then we might actually miss out on enjoying the thing itself.
Exactly.
Like, if I'm only working out to close those rings on my smartwatch, I might start hating exercise. Instead of feeling good, energetic.
Let's say you're using a language app, right? Lots of them give you points, badges for finishing lessons. It's a great way to get started, build some momentum. But if you get too obsessed with earning those virtual rewards, you might end up rushing through things, not really learning anything.
Right. And then what's the point?
Exactly. You miss the whole point of learning a new language.
It's like we turn something fun and exciting into a chore, all because we're chasing those little dopamine hits. You got to remember, it should be about the joy, right? Feeling fulfilled by the activity itself, not just getting some kind of external validation.
Exactly. It's about those rewards making the experience better, not taking over completely.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What else? Are there other downsides we should watch out for?
Comparison, competition, those can get out of hand. We were saying how a little friendly competition can be a good thing, but it can easily become something bad if we're always comparing ourselves to other people.
Oh, tell me about it. Social media, right? Everyone's showing off their best selves. It's easy to start feeling like we're not good enough. And I can see how trying to level up all the time could make that worse, that constant comparison game.
It's so important to remember that everyone's different. Everyone's on their own path. We shouldn't let, what other people think define us. This whole gamifying our lives thing, it should be about personal growth, about feeling good about ourselves, not about winning some imaginary race.
So how do we do it right? How do we use these game psychology ideas in a healthy way? Get the good stuff without falling into those traps.
It all comes back to being aware, checking in with ourselves regularly. Ask ourselves, am I really enjoying this? Is it adding something good to my life? Or am I just going through the motions, chasing rewards, trying to be better than someone else?
Like hitting pause on the game for a second and thinking, why am I even playing this? Am I having fun? Am I connecting with people? Or am I just mindlessly grinding away?
Exactly. And if you start feeling stressed, burnt out, or even, resentful towards something, maybe it's time to step back. Maybe we need to change our goals, change our approach, maybe even just take a break.
So it's about that sweet spot, right? Using these ideas from games to make our lives better without letting them take over and stress us out.
Exactly.
Yep.
Balancing challenge and enjoyment, rewards, and that feeling of being motivated by the thing itself, competition, and, being kind to ourselves. And remember, real life isn't a video game. There's no reset button.
Sure that.
We got to make choices that are good for us in the game and outside of it.
Well, this has been a wild ride. We started with the whole psychology of why games are so addictive.
Yeah.
Then brainstormed ways to use those same ideas to level up our everyday lives. And finally, talked about finding that balance, avoiding those potential traps. It's been a fascinating conversation. It just shows you even our leisure activities, they can teach us so much about ourselves, how our minds work, and how to use that knowledge to live a better life.
No, I'm walking away with a whole new perspective on games, and myself. And I got to say, I'm really appreciating the power of psychology, even in the most ordinary parts of our lives. I hope everyone listening feels the same. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep playing and keep living mindfully.